I already see a Basilisk from Faster Than Fright. Ooh, this is a nice team. So for my team, Meet Popsicle, we're looking at 2 Caracals, a Mollis, a Scythe, and a Vexer. So not a brand new setup, but trading out one of the Caracals for a Vexer over the other Caracal setups we've seen. And that's versus what?
Here on Team Fright, we have a harpy, a worm, another harpy. Oh, so we've got basically a full frig fleet here with a Bazzy support. So plenty of tank here with the Bazzy and the harpies. So it should turn out to be an interesting little thing.
Right, so we're looking at really tanky assault frigates. I'm essentially going to count that the 2 worms as assault frigates. Those are all going to be putting out a couple hundred DPS. They should have nearly 10k tank if they're fit for a decent buffer. And they're going to have the benefit of reps from this Bazzy, which has a substantial tank itself. Probably going to be an active local tank as well, either ASB or old school shield booster. This is really brutal. Of the things to fly against it, though, Caracals are definitely not the worst. If these Caracals are rapid light fit, they will be able to apply pretty well to the frigates. Unfortunately, though, they're going to meet some pretty stiff resistance, double entendre fully intended. And I'm really skeptical that they're going to be able to do any lasting damage to these frigates before the Bazzy reps land.
And we're off. Drones just now pulling off field.
It is worth mentioning, before we get too deep into this match, this Mollis is going to be a crucial part of this. If this Mollis can scan res Dampus Bazzy, they can maybe switch primaries quick enough to sink something before the reps land. Already CG5, though, taking a lot of damage.
Just went criminal and got himself killed rather quickly.
Indeed, he
Not
did.
entirely sure how that happened.
It looks like he shot a commentator as opposed to an enemy. But this worm got Bazzy reps landing. Oh, nope. There he is, deep structure, CG5.
The CG5 is catching reps.
But in between the reps, they were managing to do a little bit of structure bleed damage. Looks like he's pretty stable now. Not seeing any damage being applied to the Meat Popsicle team just yet. But they are already down 1 pilot for a Conquer Dokkan error.
And we got Zex in the Vexer taking a significant amount of damage. And being on a shield Vexer. Yeah, very, very solid call. Rather fragile a shield tank, but he's starting to bleed a little bit of armor, starting to catch reps, but it's not going to be enough with these newly rebalanced worm drones. It's going to crawl up on top of him and make his day rather bad.
So CG5 is still the primary for a Team Meat Popsicle. They've committed a lot to this worm, and it's really not going anywhere. I mean, they were getting a little bit of structure bleed, but at this point they've lost too much. They've now lost that Vexer of SEX. So they didn't really have the damage to break the Bazzy reps before. They certainly don't now. That Vexer was probably the highest damage ship in their fleet. So as with the last match, it sort of comes down to a cleanup job. This looks like it's going to be our first flawless victory of the tournament.
And the Scythe is...
Scythe is now down.
Taking it.
Yeah, pretty handily. I mean, that worm was definitely in danger, and I wonder if Meat Popsicle was using all their available heat and drones and whatnot. I really think they could have volleyed it based on how the Bazzy reps were landing, but they really didn't take advantage of that Mollis. That Mollis could have been pretty effective. If I were guessing, I would say he might have started off with targeting range scripts and not scan res. I won't guarantee that, but if he did, he should definitely have switched to scan res. And then, of course, if the scan res scripts are running on Charles and the Bazzy, then they should have been switching targets to stretch out his lock time. They didn't do that, however, and it looks like they paid the price for it with a 5-0 victory for Team Faster Than Fright.
Very well flown by Faster Than Fright. And looks like the Mollis is breaking the boundary, but the worms are chasing him. The hearts are going to go after him just to make sure that they get that last kill.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, that was well fought. I think of course, you never know what you're going to be fighting when you land on grid. That's part of the mind game of a tournament, but I kind of wonder about that Vexor now. I like it in that comp because it adds DPS, but if you're going to go for the Caracal all in and you're going to run a comp where all your ships can kite off and project damage really well, I'm not sure if the Vexor is the best choice. The drones have to travel between targets, and I'm just not sure that it works really well. I think had they been a 3 Caracal comp like we've seen before, they probably would have broken that worm. I don't think it would have won them the match, but they would have at least gone home with a kill mail. Whereas now they go home with nothing but broken dreams.
And salty tears. So with faster than Fright taking that, how do you feel about the new worm? It's interesting. I haven't flown one personally, but I want to now.
Well, before I do that, or we talk about that, somebody brings up a really good point that I didn't consider. The Scanner's scripts actually would have been useless on the Bazzi after he got the initial lock, because he only has 4 people to target. This is a very small team, so those 4 targets would have been locked pretty much the entire match. If the Mullis would have started off with Scanner scripts, they maybe could have alphaed one off the field right off the bat, but then people in the stream chat are absolutely right. He should have switched back to targeting range. My bad. But as for the
definitely like to...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the Caracal that had himself conquered Doke, and I'm just curious as to what happened there, what kind of user error was involved.
If I'm not mistaken, he shot at one of our corp members who was on grid. Mistakenly, probably just targeted the wrong person, didn't have safety the right settings. So he launched a volley at Karka, almost killed Karka, but in the process got Concordoken. So there's a Roke on field now, and I have a feeling that's probably... Okay, never mind. Red Fed.
Yeah, he's Overwatch for us. Just make sure we all stay safe tonight. Thank you, Red Fed.
But as for the worm, I think it's pretty cool, the concept with the Galenti Caldari hybrid hulls. Gila, the Rattlesnake are following the same pattern, where they have fewer drones on field at any given time, but those drones are super bonus. They're really tanky, they do a lot of damage. They don't get any application bonuses, nor do they get speed bonuses, which would be nice, but in a limited arena like that, you're not going to suffer too much for it. And because they're using a light drone payload, those worms will be able to project their damage pretty much perfectly across the field. I do like those ships. I really do. I wonder, I haven't flown the worm since the rebalance, but I'd be curious what the tank looks like on them. It should be comparable to an assault frigate. The worm does, hopefully, I'm not wrong about this, still get a resist bonus, so they're tough targets to take down. They've got fast moving, well applying damage, and yeah, pretty brutal. Costly, but brutal.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right on the bonuses. And if these pilots are perfect frig pilots, then their resistances and entire buffer tanks are very, very tall. I'm definitely a fan.
Alright, so that's match 6 of day 1. Faster than Fright taking that one home. Unfortunately, Meat Popsicle now being sent down to the loser's bracket, but they can't come back. All they need is a little bit of hope, and hopefully Caracal that does not get himself concorded at the beginning of the match. Next up, we have the last game before our midday break, and that game will be between Shut the Fuck Up Telly and Who's the FC.
I don't know. Who is the FC?
I'm not sure, but if it's Telly, he should be quiet. So we're going to leave for now. Get some cool tunes in the background, maybe, hopefully. And we will be back for this last match of the first half of the day, and then we'll go into break. As Thecla mentioned earlier, Corbix and Mangala are going to be hanging out, talking about all different manner of CSM things. So that should be fun, and then the commentators might get in here and talk about this, that, or the other.